level, you're in the right place. It's time to take control of your future, starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
Good evening. Oh, what happened?
I'm still
Okay.
here, though.
All right. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay. Sorry. Well, it wouldn't be a live stream with the Stidhams if we didn't have technical issues.
Hey, I say it all the time. I say it all the time.
And that's on brand. Okay. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, hopefully that's the only one. Welcome, everyone. So glad that you're joining us. Tonight, we are diving into the fascinating world of LIRPs. It's a weird name, right? LIRP, LIRP. What the heck is a LIRP, and why you need to know that they're not all created equal?
Yeah. And, I know this idea of what is a LIRP and what is a LIRP about and what is the definition of and how to use it and all those kind of things isn't necessarily a topic that we probably would traditionally be covering, because I know if it was up to my marketing director over there, we'd be diving into some velocity banking things and all that nature. But I've received this question a lot about alert. And I think when I start talking about things with clients, you know how the algorithm works, it starts popping up on my feed. And I've just been seeing a lot of information related to LIRPs. And again, to your point, not all are created equal. And so I just wanted to kind of just disband some of that nonsense around what is a LIRP, how does it work, and which ones may be working for you and which ones actually may be working against you.
I do think that it's important to understand why we pick the topics that we do, because we don't pick very popular topics. If we were just focusing on YouTube growth or growth in general, we would be picking trending topics that would help us get more reach or whatnot. But we know that there's information out there, and this information is sometimes trending for other people, and so therefore they're doing these videos on these topics, but then we know more about these topics, and so we go, well, here's what they're not actually saying, but it wouldn't perform, right? If they weren't saying these things. And so this is why it's so important to know, so that you can be informed and make educated decisions. So that is why we are covering these particular topics as well. However, there are things that there's like 40 different things that I want to talk about. What I really wanted to talk about tonight was in regards to the trip that we had to take and how velocity banking actually helped you. So I think we're going to do this. We keep pushing it out, but we are going to do this topic because it's important to me, and I think that they want to know, like, the flip side to velocity banking. And I think we talk about velocity banking, then what, right? We talk about that a lot. The other part is a flip side to the benefits of using strategies like velocity banking. Well, there's a benefit to using a strategy like a LIRP. It's a strategy as well as it's a product, right? But that's why knowing the strategy matters, because then you can understand when you're looking at the product or the vehicle that you're going to choose to implement that strategy, making sure that it's the strongest option for you. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, welcome. Get in here, everyone. We're gonna get into it in just a moment. Okay. Wait. I have a question.
For me?
Well, it's really for the group. We hear this feedback so much, and you've asked this to a couple of people after they've said it to you or texted it to you. But I want to ask our viewers, when we get the feedback of you guys have this dynamic, it's so important. Say what they say when they call you. That way it's not
So
coming from me.
it varies. It's a lot of really appreciate what it is you're doing, not just for the financial education piece, but really what you're doing for couples. And it's like, it kind of taken back, like, well, what do you mean? And it's, the dynamic you guys bring, the way you play off each other, where you support one another, stuff like that, is kind of a lot of what it's about. But again, there's not a lot of detail, and I'm not one to be asking for a whole lot of detail either. So, I kind of just take it as the surface comment that it is, but I get it a lot. And I find that interesting that we do get that often.
Yeah. So I want to know, because I'm not in there talking during these appointments, right? Or I would be asking, I want all the tea. Give me all the details. What is it that when you say those things, or when you guys comment those particular things, what is it when you say dynamic? What do you mean? When you say chemistry, what exactly do you mean? Because we're just us, and we're just trying to figure out, like, okay, well, we're just being ourselves. We don't really understand what the particular factors are, but we appreciate the feedback. We just want to make sure we understand what it is that you mean, so we know what particularly to appreciate. Okay, so anywho,
Your volume changed. It's almost like you're speaking in a tin can. I don't know if mine changed, but your volume absolutely changed. You're back now. Welcome back, by the
okay,
way.
all right. Well, there it is. A new, what's it called? Technical difficulty.
Go ahead for the bingo chord, the bingo card.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get in. Okay. Do I still sound like that to you guys,
Not to
Pinnacle?
me. Not
Okay.
to me.
Okay. So everything's fine. All right. So you want to jump into on the vibe board?
Yeah, and just so we're clear, this shouldn't take very long. So I think we jump in. I'll kind of walk through a couple of examples that I've seen in my feed, but let me set it up a little bit, I guess. Again, I've seen a lot of items in my feed talking about LIRPs. Hey, I'm having a meeting with person X and they want to get a LIRP, and this is what they're trying to contribute, and that contribution looks like this over time. And when you kind of peel back the layers, what you realize is it's really not that powerful. Matter of fact, your traditional retirement account might even do better. But if you don't know what to look for, if you don't know what questions to ask for, if you don't know what layers to peel back, you can get yourself in trouble. And what a lot of times I run into, potential clients who, hey, I just signed this contract for this IUL that I just got last week. And man, had I seen you before I, went down this path, I would have done something different. So there's just a lot out there, and so it's kind of hard to kind of weed through what you should or what you should or shouldn't do, I guess is my point. So, but yeah, we
Okay.
can absolutely jump into the vibe board.
All right. Let's let's get into it.
Yeah, we're good there.
Oh, there wasn't a fun thing. Too bad.
So what is a LIRP? Very simple. LIRP, life insurance retirement plan, is all that it is. MPI is absolutely a LIRP. But what is MPI? MPI is a life insurance based product that is designed to produce income. Well, there's many life insurance based products, and well, the permanent life insurance based products can all be designed to produce income. They can all be structured to produce income. It's just some produce income better than others. And so before we kind of dig into what is a LIRP or any of the examples, I just want to kind of talk through this visual here around kind of the life of the cash value life insurance based product. Because LIRPs, life insurance based retirement plans, have been around for a very long time. It obviously started with the whole life policies back in the 40s or whatever that time frame is, and transitioned into where we are now with MPI related or secure compound interest accounts. And all of these, in truth, well, grab my laser. Oh, there we go. All of these, in truth, can be considered LIRPs if done properly. Meaning, if they're structured properly, all of these, it's in some way, shape, or form, can produce income. But the biggest question is it enough income for you to be able to live off? How does it compare against your other traditional retirement accounts like IRAs, 401ks, and 403bs? Just because it can produce income doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right vehicle. And what kind of prompted this was a couple of posts I had in my feed earlier this week, and again, it was related to a couple of conversations that I had with a few different clients as well. But this was the one that kind of jumped out at me. It was like, hey, I just met with a client today who wants to do a LIRP for their 8-year-old, putting away $500 a month, and this number seems outrageous. It will give him $272,000 in tax-free income by the age of 65. $500 will produce $272,000 in tax-free income by the time he's 65. Like, that's a pretty major dollar amount, I think. But when you kind of peel the layers back a little bit, is it a lot? Because if you were to put that same $500 into the Vanguard calculator, what would that do? And so it prompted me to do that. So if you jump over to the MPI calculator, sweetheart.
You got it.
So this is an 8-year-old, and the thought process is we're going to allow this thing to grow till age 65. What are you putting in it? Putting in $500 a month. So $500 a month for an 8-year-old till age 65. There's this LIRP that says, hey, $272,000 a year would be the income by age 65. Well, what does it look like inside of a secure compound interest account like MPI? So there's 272,000, but then there's 848,000. Like, which is better? Oh, and by the way, next door is the Roth IRA. You have a Roth IRA at 267,000. So 272, 267, I'm going to call the two comparable, but it does not compare to an MPI plan. And the piece that I would love to try to normalize this. Can we normalize not talking to anyone other than 35, under the age of 35, about retiring at 65? Can we normalize early retirement? Can we normalize, you know what is the vehicle you can put your money in such that that 8-year-old can fire his employer by the age of 30, 35, or 42 versus waiting till 65? And the reason most of these LIRPs allow that compounding or need that compounding to go till age 65 is because it's mediocre. Whereas in a vehicle like this, if you back this number down to what? Maybe 50? 260. So the same comparable amount that would be produced inside of this LIRP from my timeline, it would take till age 50 inside of a product like this. So it allows that 8-year-old to be able to retire early. And usually when I'm talking to I'll call it 18 to 25, maybe 32-year-olds, the focus is not on, hey, here's what this looks like by the time you get 65. It's, wouldn't you like to be placed in a position where you can fire your employer? Wouldn't you like to be placed in a position where you get to dictate or go do your purpose or step out on your own and not have to worry about what some job is paying you? Because I think in this case, an 8-year-old putting away 500, or not an 8-year-old, but a parent for an 8-year-old putting away $500 a month is significant. That's a significant dollar amount. There's absolutely a better way to go about it as far as being able to produce income. And the other one, so it kind of begs the question, a LIRP, what specifically are they talking about as it relates to an LIRP? Because obviously it's not a Roth IRA, it's not a 401k. So it's some form of cash value life insurance product. So what specifically is it? Because the word LIRP is just more marketing than anything else. You can't go buy a LIRP. You can buy a cash value life insurance product that's designed to be a life insurance retirement plan, but you can't walk into or go to a mutual life insurance company and actually purchase a LIRP. So if you slide over to the other board, here's the second message that I saw on my timeline, and it's very similar. Very, very similar to the other one. This time it's, hey, I've got a 4-year-old and wanting to put away $200 a month. And that $200 a month would then create $1.2 million by the age of 65. So, okay, $200 a month, modest amount for your 4-year-old, putting in a secure compound interest account, right? A LIRP, a life insurance retirement plan, to be able to produce a secure income. And what I loved about what was stated in here was, it was kind of mentioned that one of the gentlemen, matter of fact, it's right here, actually. Someone highlighted, you know what, if you put that same $200 into a Roth IRA, you could actually produce $2 million in net worth. And the gentleman proceeded to lay out all of the pieces and parts of this LIRP that allowed me to identify what specifically he was talking about. These features that he's referencing, without me going through them here, these features are the same features associated with an IUL. So this life insurance retirement plan is just an IUL. It's just a basic IUL, hopefully designed properly so that $200 is, 1.2 million is pretty good. But when you move that $200,000 into, I'll call it a vehicle that's not just the foundation of an IUL, an index universal life insurance policy, but also adds the features of leverage, the features of adding someone else's money to be able to grow yours, this thing looks different. So if we look at that same $200 over in the calculator for a 4-year-old till age 65, 65, $200. We're talking $393,000 tax-free for life. We're talking about a nest egg liquid cash value of about $4.2 million compared to $1.2 million, which is better. And to his point, to the gentleman who had also stated that, hey, this would probably even do better inside of a Roth IRA. I think I'm showing better because I'm showing the Roth IRA functioning somewhere around 9%. I think what he was saying was 7%. I kind of lean more towards that 8 to 10% range. But the bottom line is there are vehicles out there that can do better as it relates to just a basic IUL or basic universal life insurance policy or basic whole life policy. The difference between a secure compound interest account like this and your traditional LIRPs that you're seeing throughout your timeline is this thing called leverage. Over that, 61 years, 146,000 is what was contributed. But starting in year 3 through age 65, there was $4 million of leverage added. You take this $4 million away, how do you get from here to here? It's virtually impossible. But that's what makes a product like this so powerful. It's that ability to add leverage at no additional cost to you. The biggest piece that requires you to be able to add this leverage is you have to remain healthy. But you remaining healthy throughout the lifetime of your policy allows you to build cash value of $4.2 million. And I go back to, can we normalize retiring early? Why does this 4-year-old have to wait till 65 before they can touch their retirement income? What does this look like at an earlier age of 45 even? At 45, $80,000 tax-free for the rest of your life. You've only put in $98,000 and you have liquid cash value of $728,000. Maybe that's not enough to retire, but it's much, you adding this on top of whatever the income might be at age 75, age 45 is pretty significant. And again, if you compare this into any other product, any other traditional retirement account, you can't even think about retiring at an age like that. And maybe it's not retire. Maybe it's start taking these distributions, but you continue to contribute, which means as you continue to contribute, that means the dollar amount that you're able to take as income continues to rise as well. So maybe it starts out at $1 amount, but by age 50, it looks like something different. $123,000 tax-free for life. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay, I have a question. Because this is a life insurance product, not any life insurance product, but this particular one, and the leverage is what you're going to get into next. Mm-hmm. Okay. What would stop this 4-year-old or 8-year-old or whoever the parent is starting this on? What would stop that 8-year-old when they turn 18, 20, and they now have an income that they could then
increase,
add to it? What would that look like?
So insurability at, I'll call it under the age of 18, the insurability is solely based on your parents' amount of life insurance they have, and their insurability dictates how much you're able to put in your kids' policies. But at the age of 18, you're absolutely correct. You're now able to use the income generated, if there's income being generated, by the individual after 18. And that is 40 times your income. So if you have a 21-year-old making a modest $18, $21 an hour, 40 times that $18, $21 an hour, whatever that total amount would be, that's the max insurability that they would have, which means there's room for them to be able to max fund their policies more than they currently are. So you absolutely are able to do that. And that's where this, this, I don't know if it's a family bank or generational wealth building comes into play, because if we better align with our children, with our siblings, with our parents on how do we get the most inside of a vehicle like this so that it can start to become a distribution of income for all of us. It's pretty
Right.
powerful.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions. I'll
Go ahead and start.
you ready? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. We have one about a HELOC, so it's a little off topic, so I'll
That's
wait.
fine.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm a first-time home buyer. Should I try for a HELOC or just a standard home loan, or do I have to have a home mortgage to qualify for a HELOC?
So you don't have to have a mortgage to qualify for a HELOC, but it does require, most home equity lines of credit do require equity. So I have seen a first position HELOC on a new build. I have seen it. It's very rare. But here's the problem with HELOCs today is the interest rate. There aren't a lot of, I'll call it enticing first position HELOCs out there unless you're getting some type of promo rate for 24 months. Like that's pretty dope. But for the most part, it would probably make more sense to jump into a mortgage. And as equity starts to build, as room starts to build inside that property, then maybe take a look at a second position even to help pay down that mortgage. But it's just hard. And again, you know me, I can justify an interest rate. So it's less about should you get a mortgage or a HELOC. It's really more about what is your goal, and two, how much cash flow do you have? Because if you have a significant amount of cash flow, go after that first position HELOC. Doesn't really matter what the interest rate is because your cash flow will compensate for it. But if you are in a position where we're just barely getting by and we're just getting approved for this mortgage, I would suggest you kind of stay in the mortgage because it's a little bit easier to, I'll call it, control the variabilities associated with the product. Yeah, you're giving away interest, but you don't have this variable interest rate that could potentially blow you out the water. So.
And this is why knowing strategy matters so much, because there's so many people who are out there preaching, make extra payments on your mortgage, but that is not building wealth. You can be, technically every kid that loses their parents is debt free, still broke, right? Just because you have your house paid off doesn't mean that you can leverage it unless you take out a HELOC, unless you sell it. That's the only way to leverage it. So it's really not helping you to pay it off any faster other than saving interest. But if you cannot leverage that money and get your equity working for you at a faster rate than it is helping you reduce the interest, then you're really not doing anything other than checking a Dave Ramsey style box, right?
Right. And I think through these lives, my conversations with people have really evolved because there's less of the, hey, I'm wanting to pay my home off and then pause, because usually it's, hey, I just want to be debt free. I just want to pay my home, and you don't hear anything else. But now it's more of there's an end to a means, right? There's it's not that I want to pay my home off. I need to create more cash flow. So what is the best way I could use my home to be able to do so? So these conversations are evolving, but every now and then I'll still run into I just need to pay my home off. And when I ask why, there's really not an answer. It's because someone has conditioned us to believe that that's what we need to do to somehow be successful. Because the question behind that is, how many compound cycles did you lose while paying off this home? Where else could that money have gone? If you're putting an extra $500 onto your mortgage, what could that extra $500? Oh, okay. Matter of fact, we just did it. What could an extra $500 into a secure compound interest account over a 30-year period do for you? It could actually pay your home off, over and above being able to produce a secure compound interest or income for a lifetime. So,
Okay, next one. I'm going to on my questions because I would just go on about that. How to invest for yourself says, so which is the best path with the lowest fees, MPI or IBC or other whole life plan to get the max? What are the drawbacks of each? When is the fastest date to be able to pull cash from the policy?
Yep. So, which one with the lowest fees? It's really about design. You can get a horrible whole life policy, or you can get a properly designed whole life policy with less fees, and you can get the same thing inside of an IUL. So it really is about structure, and it all starts with what's the goal.
Yeah.
If the goal is I'm doing IBC to go do some type of investment, then you want to make sure it's properly designed, whether we're talking IUL or whole life policy, such that you can be able to do that. What's the fastest date that you're able to pull cash? Again, it really depends on the product. Here's one thing that I believe whole life does better than an IUL or even an MPI plan, and that is the amount of, I'll call it cash value that you have available on day one or in month one or immediately. You can structure a whole life policy such that you can get 90% of the cash value that you've accumulated out early, but there's a drawback to that.
Yeah.
There's a fee-based drawback to that. So unless you're taking that 90% and you're doing something, I'll call it the effort that you're putting forth as it relates to infinite banking, and it is exceeding not just the growth on what your money's doing, but also you're able to beat those fees that they're charging you as a result, then okay, rock out, go do it. But most of the time, at least in the policy that I've seen, that 40 to 60% range is what I'll call it a sweet spot for what you should be able to access as far as cash value to be able to go do infinite banking. And I'd say MPI, or a secure compound interest account like MPI, is somewhere around that 40 to 60 range, depending on your age, depending on how much you've put in it. And I'd say a properly designed whole life policy is around about the same. And when can you access that money? It's fairly immediate. I had a client reach out to me because he had looked into his account a few weeks or maybe a week later and it wasn't there. So, okay, maybe it takes about a month or so for that amount to fully register and for you to have access to it. But it's pretty immediate. Any other questions?
Can someone on SSI, can a person with SSI be allowed to get an MPI account?
So MPI, the amount that you're able to qualify for is based off your income. So if you have income, and Social Security is a form of income, then it's based off that. And it's based off your income, your age, and your health. So all of those are factors. So can someone on Social Security get? Yes, they can. It just, does the math? Does it mathematically make sense?
Yeah, and we really appreciate all of your comments, especially the ones showing us love. We read them. We just know that if we go through all the comments and thank you all, then it just makes the live stream so much longer. So we've been trying different things, but we all want you to know we read them and we really appreciate it so much. Okay, so the leverage. So then if you could get the money out in the same period of time, or you can have the access to your funds in the same period of time, then what makes an MPI product or policy different than any other product that they might put inside of a LIRP? But by the way, I think I'm at Charles, by the way, I think I'm at a solid 13 to 15. I might have missed a couple in there, but we're counting how many times you say LIRP.
Me? I like it. Bingo.
Yeah.
Let's do
Yeah.
it. LIRP.
We're counting. Hey, putting another tally.
Let's
All right.
go over to the vibe board.
Okay.
So I've put this visual up before. I know it's hard to read, but high level, what this is these are all of the, I'll call it the reasons why MPI or secure compound interest account like MPI functions so well. And the first column is MPI. Next column is a traditional 401k or IRA. And then there's a Roth 401k or an IRA. Then there's a 529 plan. Then over there to the right is a LIRP. So if you just visually, the LIRP and MPI look fairly similar. I guess I make that a little bit smaller. Oh no, we're there. The LIRP and MPI plan looks fairly similar with the exception of one section. And it's this one. It's all about the leverage. Meaning it's the ability to use someone else's money to help grow your account faster. You remove this leverage, and I'd say MPI is mediocre. But it's that leverage part that sets all of this apart. It's a match. It's the ability to use someone else's money inside of your policy and grow your policy exponentially. It's the foundation of what premium finance is. And what makes this more powerful than premium finance is solely because we're not requiring a bank to be able to provide us with this leverage, which means there's no qualifying, there's no $5 million of net worth, there's no high income, high net worth required. This is solely you contributing to your account over the first 2 years. And as a result, you're able to add all of the cash value that was accumulated in year one into the policy. Other than that, it's these two are comparable accounts, but that leverage piece is what sets it apart. And so when you're seeing, I'll call it advertising around a LIRP, 9 times out of 10, the LIRP is just an IUL, 9 times out of 10. And it's because when you start talking about the growth of the stock market without the loss, 9 times out of 10, what we're talking about here is just simply an IUL. So it's just a marketing ploy is what I would call what a LIRP would be. It is just simply an IUL on steroids, or an IUL without the steroids rather. Whereas MPI is an IUL on steroids. Is the difference between the two.
Okay.
So other than that, I just wanted to highlight this piece as well, because it's also about the growth. So if we're comparing MPI to a traditional IUL, what is the difference? And using that example from $500 a month, if you're putting away $500 a month, regardless of the age, we're talking about $6,000 a year. What is the difference between an IUL and a secure compound interest account? It is all about the leverage. And when does that leverage kick in? So we're talking about $6,000 in year one. It's the same $6,000 inside of MPI. $6,000 in year two is the exact same. Again, no leverage. But at year three, that leverage kicks in. And what's happening here is at year three, you're able to borrow or leverage all of the cash value from year one. And at year four, you're able to do the same. But at year five, something special happens. You're able to leverage not just year one, but year one and year two. And so that ends up looking like 12,000. And it's this leverage part is what sets this game up, sets this product apart from everything else. So in a 10-year span, you would have leveraged 120,000 inside of a secure compound interest account versus none of that inside of an IUL. And this dollar amount that you're leveraging comes at a cost. It comes at a cost of 4% today. And so if you're making on average 7% on your money, you're making on average 7% of your leverage money, and it costs you 4 to use it, that difference of 3% ends up producing upwards of 10% growth on your money. And again, I don't care what you're investing in or where your money is. If you're in a product that allows you without effort, without you having to add any more of your money, if there's a match, a 100% match going into your policy starting in year three, which exponentially gets bigger over time, there's very few things that can compete with that. Maybe there's a few real estate investments that might, but there are very few, I'll call it traditional retirement plans or cash value life insurance based products that can compete. Pretty simple.
And why is this so important? I think that one horn that I keep blowing, what do you say? What's the phrase? Song I keep singing. It's like my anthem at this point, is around inflation. And these other products or policies, why it's so important to be educated on the end result, not just how you can leverage it through the policy, but also that end result is so significant because of inflation. We went over this where in 1983, a $120,000 a year income today is the same thing as 40,000 was in 1983.
Right.
And so right now, pretend like you're in 1983 with a $40,000 income, not assuming that you would need to have 120,000 in 30 years. Yeah. To live the same lifestyle, right? What would you need to have by the time you've retired?
No, you're spot on. And so what do you do? Like what action do you take to be able to prepare yourself for something like that? And I think that's why this example kind of jumped out to me. $500 a month till age 65 for an 8-year-old sounds like a massive amount. But when you take inflation into consideration, that $272,000 or whatever it was, is it really a sufficient dollar amount? versus that same $500 a month inside of a vehicle like this, because of the leverage, because of the additional growth, because it's an IUL on steroids. But would it end up being $830,000 in tax-free income? I would think that would be able to compensate for a little bit of inflation, I would believe, right? But so what
Yeah.
do? You have to either one of two things. Either you have to put your money in a vehicle that can compensate for, or as you're putting away a percentage of your income, regardless of where it is, into your 401k, into a TSP, into a secure compound interest account, as you make more money, whatever that percentage is of your income, you maintain that percentage. So if $500 a month, $6,000 a year is 10% of your income, then as you get a promotion and you're making now 72,000, you want to keep that same 10% of 72,000, which would be now that dollar amount moves to $7,200 a year that you're putting in. So that's how you would kind of compensate for that too.
Strategy matters. Okay. Diva Miami says, I think we had one before that. Antonio, by the way, we were trying to figure out, we're talking to somebody else and he was like, no, that's the guy from the chat. And I was like, no, it's not. His name was Antonio. Guy you're talking to is Anthony. Boom. Here's the proof. I won. See?
Yes, you win.
Yes. This is the proof that the person I was talking about was different.
You would have to remind me at dinner, what game did I lose? But I will take this loss. Not a
Yeah.
problem.
Okay. Well, I will. All right. Antonio says, what amount is leveraged in year 3? The annual premium or the annual premium plus the lump sum?
Yep. If you slide over the calculator, I can just show you.
For
Matter of fact,
Antonio. For Antonio.
and I'm going to put some, I'll call it more different numbers. So 20-year-old putting away $200 a month till age 50. So we're talking 39,000 in tax-free income. But the question is, what is being leveraged? Well, if we go back to year 1, so at year 1, the 20-year-old would be 21 at that point. Come on now, 21. And they would have contributed $2,400. Very modest. And notice the difference between 2,400 and 2,328. This difference are the fees. But the bottom line is this is the cash value working for you. This dollar amount is the leveraged amount. This is the dollar amount that is able to be pulled into the account and leveraged at 4% while it's making 7, which gives an arbitrage of 3. But notice in year 1, there isn't any. It's okay. In year 2, put in another 2 times 12, $2,400. So you have 22. So a total of 2,400 is what, I'm sorry, 4,800 is what's been contributed to this account. But still notice, even though you've put 48 in and you now have 4,800 in cash value, you've broken even, but still no leverage. The leverage kicks in at year 3. So what is it? Well, the agreement that we have with the life insurance company that we work with is this. Because you've contributed consecutively for the first 2 years into your account, starting at year 3, you're able to leverage, you're able to borrow all of the cash value that was accumulated in year 1. So the dollar amount you're leveraging or borrowing from the life insurance company is the total amount of cash value, dollar for dollar, that you've accumulated in year 1. And so in this case, if you remember year 1, it was $2,400. So starting at year 3, starting in year 3, that $7,200 that you would have contributed has now picked up an additional $2,400 from the life insurance company. Again, we're borrowing or leveraging all of the cash value from year 1. So what money are we leveraging? This dollar amount is coming from the life insurance company to us, but the agreement that we have is we're allowed to do so because we've fulfilled our agreement, which was contributed consecutively to our account for the first 2 years. So that 2,400 is and another piece to mention here, where is this 2,400? Because I think this is important as well, because I keep saying leverage, I keep saying borrow. That implies that I must have to pay this $2,400 back at some point. Well, these dollar amounts are located in the general fund. The general fund is where the 0% floor for a product like this lives. What that means is as you're putting in your $200 a month, it goes into this bucket called a general fund. And that general fund is basically like a high yield savings account. It's comprised of AAA rated bonds, I'd say. And the money inside the general fund your money's going to grow somewhere between 3 and 7% annually. Well, that dollar amount is protected. It's a contractual. You will hear me give very few guarantees as it relates to products like this. But there is a contractual guarantee inside of an IUL that says any dollar amount you put into that general fund cannot be lost due to market risk. And so therefore, there's a contractual guarantee that this dollar amount inside this bucket can't be lost. So what is the risk to you in borrowing $2,400 from the life insurance company? Meaning, what is the risk that somehow you might lose it or you may owe it? There isn't any, because you don't physically have it. This $2,400 is sitting in the general fund. You can't access the general fund. And the general fund is where the 0% floor lives. So therefore, as a result, this dollar amount, because you don't have it, you're just leveraging it. So there is a cost to borrow. That cost to borrow is 4%. So all you owe on this dollar amount is 4%. So if you're making 7, or in some cases 10, 12, whatever that spread might be, once you make that spread and pay that 4% back, this loan becomes self-collateralized, which allows you to be able to borrow it again. So a lot more words, but hopefully that answered that question.
Yep. Okay. Now next one is best use of the funds from a HELOC. I have a PLOC that I use for velocity banking and investing, but now will be used for investing.
Right. That's the now what, right? So I've used my PLOC, I've addressed my debt, I've done velocity banking. Now what? I got to go find more debt, or I can leverage this line of credit to be able to actually build wealth. I can leverage this line of credit to put me in a better cash flow position, or I can leverage this line of credit to be able to actually produce wealth, put me in a position to be able to fire my employer. It's all about the now what for me. So I agree with that. And congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, she's killing it for sure. Okay. Greg says, would that person have to wait to take a loan out?
I guess we'd have to define wait, meaning it's not, hey, I put in a $10,000 lump sum today into my MPI plan, and tomorrow I get to go to my account and take out $8,000 or something like that. So I think the wait is relative. Is it immediate? Like tomorrow? I don't think it is. I think it's somewhere the account has to register, the fees have to be addressed. But I think once left over, once your account registers, probably after that first month, then yes, you can access your cash value. And make sure I understand the question that you're asking, because that access to that loan, you can actually borrow against your cash value at any point. So there's no, hey, I have to wait 3 years. Because if you're referencing, the question before that was, where does the leverage come from? If you're saying, hey, you have to wait until that 3rd year before you can leverage the cash value in your account, absolutely not. The leverage, the cash value that you're accruing inside of your account is still yours, that you're able to leverage and use whenever you would like. There is an ask that we have, especially if you're working with someone that properly designs these things. There is an ask that we have that, you know what? If you waited till year 3, that is when 9 times out of 10, your account breaks even. And so therefore you actually have more available to you that you can leverage and go use. But there's no one, I'll call it, standing over your shoulder that's going to tell you that you can't leverage your money at year 1. That's more of just an ask than it is, I'll call it, someone forcing you or not allowing you to be able to access your cash value. So I answered like 3 questions in that one. So
Yeah, for sure. And that's why knowing how the strategy works matters, because it would influence your decisions along the way, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Diva says, if you have a self-directed 401k, do you still need the permission of your current employer to move it? Are all self-directed 401k accounts the same? It's a great question.
Okay. If you have a self-directed 401k, do you need the permission of your current employer? So two things. If you have a self-directed 401k, that tells me that self-directed 401k is tied to your business because it's a self-directed 401k. But I think what you're saying is, I've got this 401k with my current employer. And if you wanted to move the funds from your current employer into your own self-directed 401k, do you need permission? And the short answer to that question is yes. Because the company that you work for, you don't own that 401k. You think you do. You're contributing to it. But what you're doing is you're creating I'll call it a tax shelter for the company that you work for. Now, once you're vested and if you ever leave that company, then it's yours. Or if you hit retirement age with that company, you can then access those dollars the way that you would like. But if you wanted to just arbitrarily move your 401k dollars with your current employer into your own self-directed 401k, you would have to do what's called an in-service transfer. And that in-service transfer would, and again, if they approve that in-service transfer, they would allow you to be able to do it.
Yeah, she's saying apparently they have recently switched to these. She received a letter today. So they switched to a self-directed.
Self-directed. I love that. Now that's even better, because let's peel back the word self-directed. There's a lot of self-directed accounts out there. There's a company that I have a client who moved their IRA from self-directed IRA to a self-directed 401k so she could have full control over it. But the company's name is self-directed IRA. So there's a lot of self-directed companies out there. Self-directed means control. But from my perspective, that control looks like you being able to invest in what you want when you want. Some other company that's using the term self-directed just means you can invest in what they offer. So if it's a 401k with your employer and you're able to self-direct it, without even looking at it, my gut says what that means. You can take that money in your 401k and pick from any of the 35, 75 mutual funds, stocks, and bonds that they offer. So the self-direct is, instead of us telling you to put it in this target date fund, you get to decide what target date fund you want to put it in. You just can't move it outside of these target date funds. So you can self-direct it within the scope, within the box that we put you in. But it's not a true self-directed from the point of you get to take that money outside of the market and put it elsewhere. So again, that's another one of those marketing things.
Okay, I've got to just take a minute. So I'm going to put Veronica's question up here and then I'll be back.
No problem.
Okay. If we put a chunk in the opening of the account, would that amount count for the first year payment and you start on the second year as you put in month to month?
So I need to, because I missed something there. So I'll read it back. If we put a chunk in an opening account, I got you. So if you put a lump sum in for the first year's payment and you start the second year, so what you're talking about is design. So if you have a one-time lump, for instance, if we were to put that lump sum in the calculator, the way the calculator receives that lump sum is there's an assumption. Whatever the lump sum you tell me to put into that calculator, it's going to split that lump sum in half. And half of it is going to go in year one. The other half is going to go in year two. That is the automatic assumption. Well, I have the ability to structure a product like this such that we call it a one pay, meaning we can get all of that lump sum in year one, or we can actually do a one pay, 4 pay, 5. It really is up to you. But the moral of the story is, if you have a lump sum, we can actually identify or design it however you would like. If you wanted to spread that lump sum over the next 5 years, we could do it that way. But ultimately, when you're putting numbers inside this calculator, the assumption is the lump sum is being spread across the first 2 years, and then every year after that, it's the monthly premium that you had identified. So using real numbers, if we were to take $10,000 lump sum in this calculator, it would say 5,000 in year one, 5,000 in year two, and you wanted to do $500 a month. At 500 in year one, it would be a $5,000 lump sum. And then in January through December, it's $500 a month. And then in year two, there's a second $5,000 lump sum. And then it's $500 a month from January through December. And year two is through year two. And then at year three, there's no more lump sum that is added. And so from that point forward, it's $500 a month from then on. So hopefully that answered that. And here I'll slide down and see if there's any others. So I don't know if we had covered this or not. Considering the average American worker brings home an estimated 54,000. Oh, okay. So that was just more of a comment. Gotcha. Okay. So this is not one of those things that I do, sweetheart.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thanks. We knew it was going to happen, right? Like neither one of us have had to take a break in the middle of the stream. We knew at some point it was going to happen. I'm the winner of that.
But you're back though.
I am back.
I missed you.
Why is
But
it
then
keep
you're
taking
gone
me
again.
off? Yeah, I know. I don't know why it keeps doing that. That's weird. Okay, did you already do cars question?
I was headed there next. Talking about this one?
Nope.
Which one?
This one. Can we MPI with the current climate if things go south for 2 or 3 years in banking? Is our money definitely protected even if it doesn't grow until a few years out? This sounds so much safer.
So, short answer is yes. Why is it safe though? I go back to that contractual guarantee. Show me the contractual guarantee on a 401k that says you can't lose the money that you've accumulated due to market risk. Show me the contractual guarantee that says an IRA is the same. It doesn't exist. I think that's one of the powerful pieces as it relates to a cash value life insurance based product, that it kind of offers that feature. So is it, and you're right. How about this? What is the number of consecutive down markets a process like this or a product like this can handle? And we've kind of done that math too. It's somewhere around, I'll call it 5 to 6 consecutive down markets. So even though it's not perfect, it can withstand 5 to 6 consecutive down markets. So when was the last time we've had 5 to 6 consecutive down markets? How about never? But we have had 3. And that 3 consecutive down markets is the Great Depression or the dot-com bubble. So at a minimum, a product like this can survive a Great Depression or a dot-com bubble. But what would your 401k, what would real estate be doing? What would a traditional, what would any other traditional retirement account be doing during this time? I think that's the piece. So it seems or sounds like it's much safer because mathematically it is. And I
Risk.
think there's another point here, and it's
Oh,
interesting. There's a you can stay on. There's a video going around between, I think it's Garrett Gunderson and Chris 180, and they are breaking down an IUL compared to an compared to a whole life policy, and they are really digging into the details. And I've been listening and watching because I'm waiting on them to highlight a secure compound interest account like MPI because they don't like those either, but they don't. And here's the truth. They're right. I didn't watch it. One thing that they said that wasn't true, like the risk associated with an IUL and the consistency of a whole life policy is better. The piece that they're missing though is when you add leverage. If you
yeah.
add leverage inside of a whole life policy, it becomes amazing. When you add leverage inside of a 401k, it becomes amazing. So when you add leverage inside of a properly designed IUL, those problems, those inadequacies, those issues that can cause an IUL to implode, you eliminate them. You eliminate them because no different than velocity banking. The way you the way you resolve the issue of a variable interest rate on a HELOC is you have more cash flow. The more cash flow you have, it doesn't really matter what the interest rate is because you're paying
Right.
down the balance so fast.
Right.
It's no different inside of MPI because of
Right.
the leverage and the growth and the exponential growth. You're able to compensate for whatever those inefficiencies are associated with an IUL, and I don't hear them talk about that. So I find that pretty interesting. So
Well, and that's why it's called a relock feature.
exactly, and
Yeah.
a completely made up word, but it absolutely a retirement equity line of credit is absolutely, I'll call it the right word to use for a product like this.
Which also technically a LIRP is also a made up word.
Yeah, absolutely, it's absolutely a made up word.
Just to throw that word out there one more time.
Did I
One
win?
more
How many did I
again.
get? 102. Where am I at
I don't
on the
know.
total?
I feel like I might be Charles, he's been doing it from the beginning and
Blurp, 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 blurp.
I think I'm at 20. He said he was at 19 like probably 4 LIRPs ago. I don't know if he's counting mine. But okay. If you leverage the money you put in before the 3rd year time period, will you be penalized?
Penalized isn't the word. The again, using real numbers, $500 a month, 6,000 a year. You put in 6,000 in year 1, you put in 6,000 in year 2, that's 12 grand. You need 5 grand to go fix the roof. Okay, you leverage 5 grand, go fix the roof. Here comes year 3. Now you're supposed to be able to leverage all of year 1 and pull that into year 3. Well, if that leverage is still hanging out, the agreement that we have with the life insurance company says because you funded your plan consecutively for the first 2 years, you're able to leverage all of year 1. Well, all of year 1 doesn't exist anymore. And so there may still be leverage there. Again, don't quote me on this because I don't think this math is correct. But if you use 5,000 to go fix your roof, can you leverage how much of that is left to be able to leverage? Maybe 1,000 because there was a 6,000 initially, but I don't think that math is even right. My point is, would you be able to leverage something? Yeah, probably, but it wouldn't be that full complement because we didn't fulfill the agreement that we needed to.
Okay. Um, Charles said Olivia, his 5-year-old, stole his boat. And I was
Oh,
trying
what
to
boat?
log
You
into
mean this
the,
boat?
yeah, I was trying to
That
log
boat?
into the, you know what, we're going to send Olivia her own boat. How about that? I was trying to log into the thing to do the drawing, but I don't know. It's,
We'll do it next time.
yeah, we'll
We'll
do
do it
it
next
next
time.
time for sure.
And because I know Diva Status is anxious to get her boat, so she's been waiting on the opportunity to be able to win one. So it's coming. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay. Diva Miami says, I just need to book my appointment. You guys are changing my perspective on my retirement strategy. That's our goal.
Absolutely. And again, it's just a conversation. And here's what I would hope. Don't just use these lives. There's a lot of information that my wife has put on our site for you to be able to just get educated on your own. Spend some time, go through the videos. Don't just listen to me. Listen to the founder, the dude that created it. Look at the comparisons between MPI and traditional retirement planning and all of those things. And then when we sit down, let's focus on the goal.
Yeah. And here's why I think it's super important. Not everybody qualifies for an MPI plan.
Right.
And so there are other strategies out there. This is definitely not a one size fits all. We are not saying that you only can retire early if you use MPI. It is just that if you don't understand strategy and you don't have a strong strategy, you might find yourself 20, 30 years from now going, this is not the result that I was hoping for. But the writing was on the wall the whole time. You just hadn't seen it. We broke that down with our Wizard of Oz series, and we took you through how each one of those characters in the film and how the movie progresses is actually how the retirement plans have been introduced into our society and into our systems. It's quite alarming how well it all tracks. Like, and I didn't make this up. Obviously, I did not make the movie up. I just put
Connected
the
some
two
dots.
timelines together, right? And you go, this and every other film like it has been there the whole time. And it's a story about how people who were actually taking advantage of us and people who actually had set us up to be in these dangerous situations have benefited, or they've used us to avoid having to deal with that type of reality. For instance, Glinda, the good witch who put the shoes on Dorothy, she knew what was going to happen. She put her in that position, and who does she represent, right? Dorothy could have clicked those heels right then and there. She did not have to go all the way to the dang Emerald City and see the wizard who wasn't even a wizard, and
Right.
she knew it.
What did Glinda benefit?
Glinda is not a good witch. I've already said that. We're rewriting the story.
Trigger alert.
She's out. That's it. And so the point is, though, that in the movie we all revered her as that ball of light, and she was the good witch. And we've made references to the good witches and the bad witches. But the truth is, were any of them good?
Right.
And what was the initiative? When you understand the initiative behind the bad witch, you go, wait a second, am I actually part of the flying monkey crew? Have I been out here acting like a flying monkey? Because that is exactly what my financial behavior looks like. Like I'm actually helping her, right?
Right.
So you guys can watch that if you want to. Here, we're gonna move on to the next question, or I could just sit here and go about all that all night. Okay, Think Thrival says, I have 100,000 HELOC never touched. And you're saying I could build wealth with that with an MPI, secure compound interest account.
So again, let me just make some assumptions. I have $100,000 HELOC never touched. That tells me you've had it for a while, and more than likely the interest rate is probably pretty decent. Let's say you've got cash flow. So you've got cash flow to where, because the reason you don't need it is because you're doing fine in the situation that you're in. So which tells me you have cash flow. And my question to you is, what are you doing with the cash flow? Where is it going today? If it's not going into some type of investment, then 9 times out of 10, it's sitting in some savings account or high yield savings account are just sitting in your checking, or we're using it to take trips and go out and whatever the case may be. But if you have decent cash flow, what would happen if you put that cash flow to work? And if you have decent cash flow and you have a HELOC as well, if you take a portion of that HELOC, not all of it, but if you took a portion of that HELOC, dumped it into a secure compound interest producing vehicle, and again, assuming you have sufficient cash flow, use the cash flow in the form of velocity banking to pay back the amount that you just used on the HELOC. And then as that balance goes down, you take another chunk and you do it again, and you continue that cycle. You're absolutely right. That HELOC or a portion of that HELOC could absolutely be going out and I'll call it recruiting other employees for you, teaching your money how to make its own money, to the point where, again, and this is just velocity banking. Once you understand the concept of velocity banking, it's just freeing up cash flow. What are you going to do with it once it's freed up? Or if you have sufficient enough, you can use that cash flow to pay down your debts pretty quickly. But you are absolutely right. You can use this money to absolutely build wealth.
Well, why don't you
Again,
show
making
her?
a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, why don't you show her
Okay,
what
continue with my assumptions. She's 35.
Yeah. Well, we have a delay, so we don't know. You can put it in here and we'll adjust it, but we'll start with,
So 35 to 65, she's got a $100,000 HELOC. So we can jump over to the calculator. She's
Okay.
got a $100,000 HELOC. I'm going to say, let's take, I don't know, 30,000.
oh, she said 53. What?
Okay, 53.
That photo does not
I'm
look
telling you, man, I
53.
keep running into these people.
We're
It's like,
different.
man, I had a 64-year-old preacher, and she kept trying to tell me she was 64. Like, where? Like, man, get out of here. Get out of here.
Ain't 53 like the Golden Girls? They were 53. Like,
Right.
our whole,
Right.
you know what? We're changing it. We're changing it all up.
So 53, I'm going to allow this money to compound a little bit longer. I'm going to give it till 73. I'm not saying that you have to, but I am going to 73. I am going to do that just to give the money more time to cook. And let's say you took half of that HELOC. And again, in this calculator, the assumption is that $50,000 is going to be split between year one and year two. 25,000 year one, 25,000 in year two. So that means you still have 50,000 left on your HELOC, but you just put a portion of it here. And we have to assume some dollar amount on a monthly basis. And again, I go back to, if you've got a HELOC sitting there not being used, my assumption is you have cash flow. So I'm going to assume you've got about $1,000 available that you could dump into a vehicle like this. Well, in that 20-year period, that $1,000 a month plus 50,000 just twice. I'm sorry, just the 50,000 spread over 2 years. So 25,000 just twice. I didn't even continue using the HELOC. I just used it for a lump sum in year one and year two. And then I took a portion of your cash flow and put it in as a monthly amount. And it still produced you 91,000 tax-free for life. You have cash value of somewhere around $776,000. This dollar amount would have created a death benefit or initial life insurance of about $666,000 and a death benefit somewhere around that age of 73 of about $1.8 million, all off using this HELOC and putting it to work. But let me show it a different way. What if you did consistently use the HELOC very similar to how we use our home? We use our home such that every year we take a dollar amount and dump it into the HELOC. What that means is we take this dollar amount, which causes the HELOC, the balance on the HELOC to go back up. Then we use our income all year to pay down the HELOC. Then we take another dollar amount and we dump it in. So we do use our HELOC to consistently fund a policy like this. And so I'm going to drop the number down, or actually I'm going to get rid of the lump. And I'm just going to say, what if that was $20,000 annually? So $20,000 annually would be, I think that's $1,667. $20,000 annually. So in essence, you're taking this HELOC and you're just going to use it over and over and over again. You're going to take 20,000 out of it, dump it into a secure compound interest account. Balance goes up. You're going to use infinite banking to pay it down. And then at the end of the year, you're going to take another 20,000 and do it again. Again, my assumption is you have cash flow to be able to do that. And so
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
What that would look like is 99,000 tax-free for life. Inside of a vehicle like this, you would have contributed about 400,000, created a nest egg of about 894,000. And again, if you would have put that same dollar amount inside of any other vehicle, Yeah, actually, you would have $1 million inside of a Roth IRA. You'd have more money here than here. Like pretty awesome. But look at the difference in income.
Can
43,000 compared to 99. Yes, ma'am.
okay, can you go back up?
I sure can.
How old did you put it till?
53 to 73.
Okay, can you find where she's at 30,000 a year?
Oh,
What would
okay.
that be?
Yep, no problem. What
63?
age you asking?
Yeah.
So let's go, I don't know, 60.
I don't know either. So we're just
So
doing this
double
together.
that. So we'll be 65.
65.
Yep.
So that 13 years?
So 65, right. So what is that? 12 years? 12 years, she'd have 38,000 tax free for life.
Okay. So what if she stops making income so her cash flow situation changes by this
Right.
point, right? And so she could then, if she's still leveraging the HELOC, which might be past that term for the HELOC, if it's 13 years, unless she qualified for another one, right? To be
Right.
able to use it.
Yes,
Couldn't
draw
she
period
use
matters. Yes.
Right. Couldn't she use this policy to then pay back her HELOC? So she's essentially, it's a machine that's feeding itself at that point.
Remember, she only used 20,000, right? The objective was not to over leverage yourself. She had 100,000 HELOC, only used 20. So
Right.
you're absolutely correct. There's liquid cash, 344,000. So even if she was over leveraged, you have the ability to pay that HELOC off with your eyes closed.
Yeah. And then, but if she wanted to continue to fund her policy past any leveraging of a HELOC or whatnot, just the 1667, let's say her income completely changed, her whole thing. We got to look at best worst case scenario out here because
I'm with you.
it's hard out here in these streets. Healthcare, whatever the situation is, right? Healthcare, wealth care. I used it again. Okay, so if she wanted to, she could use the income that can come from it. She could start right now leveraging either that projected cash value or that income to then feed it into itself.
So let me restate, I think what it is you're saying. This dollar amount, this 1667 is 20 grand a year.
Yeah.
Isn't there $20,000 right here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So if there's 20, so think about it. If you take 38,000 and put it in your checking account, take
Yeah.
that 38,000 and just turn right around and take 20,000 of that 38 and put it right here. Now, I'm not saying you can retire. That's not what we're saying, but you absolutely can use this vehicle to pay your premiums. So you can use 20,000 here to make that $20,000 premium payment, which means you just funded this for another year. So now at age 66, the dollar amount just increased. So you absolutely can use your premium, the growth or the income generated inside of a vehicle like this to make premium payments. You absolutely can do that.
Does that make sense to everyone else? What I'm saying about what if something happens so that you know for sure what it is that can you hear that ding of my computer? So that you know what it is for sure that you're committing to, right? And that this is part of your strategy, that no matter what happens, you have options. You can pivot at any point in time and you understand where your leverage is. I think that's the most powerful part about understanding a strategy is that you do for sure know where your leverage is and you know where your leverage is not. So you know where your highest potential or your best valued leverage is in the beginning. But if anything were to happen to that, if your variables change at all inside of your equation, then you also know where you can pivot, like what's your runner up, right?
Right.
Yeah. Who's on the bench?
And here's the
Who's
thing.
on the bench? Who's your players on the bench?
Absolutely.
And for this, it's your projected cash value or your income that could be already generating.
And if this was a traditional velocity banking example, what would we be doing with that HELOC? It would be take a portion of that HELOC, dump it onto the mortgage, recast the mortgage, free up the cash flow, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is just not saying that there's something wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I go back to the goal. If the goal is, because she said generating wealth, if the goal is generating wealth, would it make more sense to take this dollar amount and pay down this mortgage? And then free up cash flow, then hopefully put in a vehicle like this. But how much time was lost in the process of doing that versus getting right to it? taking that dollar amount and putting whatever the necessary amount is and replenishing it over time and letting this thing build. You know, all
Yep.
starts with the goal.
Yeah. And knowing whether you're building something that has leverage or not. I mean, honestly. Okay, Bobby says, "Hi, does the tax-free income keep increasing year after year even if you started collecting it?" Great
So,
question.
yep. So, short answer, yes, if you're continuing to contribute. The assumption in this calculator is this: at age 66, there will be no more contributions of 1667. So at age 66, this individual is going to take this 44,000 tax-free and head off to the island. Well, if they continue to make this 1667 payment or even some portion of it, maybe half that. Yeah, it may not grow at the same rate, but it will still continue to grow even though you're taking this income. Why is that? Like, how is it possible that this is still continuing to grow? To understand that, you have to understand what this dollar amount is. This 4488 is a distribution. Distribution is just another word of saying we're borrowing. We're borrowing $44,000 from your cash value. But your cash value is growing at a rate of somewhere between 12, 13, 14, 15%. So do the math. This 44,808 is a certain percentage of this dollar amount. Let's call it 11%. I'm making up a number because I don't know what it is. But let's call it 11%. Well, if you're making 13%, if you're making 14% on this dollar amount, then the amount you've just taken in income is less than what's being made. So therefore, you can take that 44,808 forever because you're making more than you're taking, which means your account is still continuing to grow. So now when you take that 44,88 and you turn right around and take a portion of it and put it here, then what you're doing is you are funding your policy for another year. So instead of it being 44,88, 44,880 or whatever it was by age 67, it's just increased. It's just gone up, which means now you can access more.
Tax-free.
Tax free. And as long as you continue to contribute to your policy continues to grow because you're continuing to add more and more cash value. But the assumption in this calculator is you're going to stop contributing.
Okay,
Any other
well,
questions?
actually, I think we're good with questions. So
Perfect.
there's just a lot of comments in here that
Blurp,
and
blurp, 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 blurp.
yeah, and I lost count.
I saw I saw Charles, I think it was 26, I think is what he was
Yeah,
putting there earlier.
he was so good with it. I lost count. And that's okay. We know you probably said it at least 30, 35 times today.
And that's about how many times I was seeing it in my timeline, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because no different than the self-directed. Hey, my 401k at work is now self-directed. Just because they say it's self-directed doesn't mean it's in a position to where you can control it. Just because it's it's labeled a life insurance retirement plan doesn't mean it's efficient enough for you to actually have a successful retirement. That's the whole point and purpose of today. Is just because it looks good doesn't mean it is. So let's do our homework. Let's peel the layers back. Let's ask a few questions, because I think in asking the right questions, we can get to what that true answer might be.
Yeah, because there has been quite a few people who had said, "Oh, well, how much is it to get a self-directed account through you?"
Right.
And it's flat fee on purpose, right? And then they'd say, "Oh, well, we had this other company tell us they could do it for cheaper."
Absolutely. Hey, let's do real numbers. Self-directed 401k costs $14.50 all in. You can go to a self-directed IRA or whatever right now and get one for $999, $999. Big difference, right?
Yeah.
But when you peel back the layers, that $999 does not include transfer fees, balance fees, check writing fees, like you name it, or whatever that yearly custodial fee, maintenance fees. Because what they're doing is they're going to nickel and dime your account forever. Whereas that $14.50 is one time. There are no other charges. There are no custodial fees associated with that. So you're absolutely spot on with that.
Yeah, and I think that asking a few questions doesn't cut it. You got to ask as many questions as you need to ask.
Yeah, you got to
Matter of
peel back
fact,
the layers.
ask them what questions they would ask the next person. Like, if I were to go to one of your competitors, what questions would you ask them? that's a great way to find out what questions you actually should be asking that person.
And I've got a whole slide associated with this as well, right? Because it starts with what can I invest in?
Yeah.
Right. And let them tell you, hey, you can invest in anything you want with the exception of these three things. Or let them tell you, you know what, we've got this box of mutual funds, stocks and bonds that you can invest in. Well, that doesn't sound like control to me. So what can you invest in? How many of these accounts can you have? What are the fees associated with this account? When I go to write a check, for a non-traditional investment, do I need permission? Or am I just able to write this check from my account similar to how I treat my current checking account? So I could go on. There's a whole lot of questions to ask, but I do have a short video. There's a video that kind of covers this as well as what those questions would be. What are the questions you would ask your custodian when you're looking for a self-directed retirement account? So
yeah, and if you Google up self-directed 401k, you'll find Donnell on the first page.
Plug.
Yeah, and there's a reason why, and the reason why is because there is an insane amount of information on the website in regards to self-directed 401ks because they have been completely underutilized for so long. But there's thousands of blogs, right, on topics. So not just frequently asked questions, but detailed blogs and breakdowns of how to use them and how to not use them too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you'll find all of that there.
The key for me as it relates to a self-directed retirement account is about getting your money out of the market. The whole point and purpose of getting self-directed is control. Having control so that you can put your money in a position such that it's not subject to market risk. And it's allowing you to be able to create that WTF moment, generate wealth, take control of your time so you can actually create true freedom. And so it's all about control. And just because someone says it's self-directed doesn't necessarily mean you have that control. So it's peeling back the layers to understand, where am I restricted? What do I need to do differently? Or what is the structure of this product how does this need to look so that I can have more control?
Yeah. And where's my support so that I can understand how to leverage and how to use these tools? Having something is great, but I mean, most of us, we have all these smart items and smart homes, but we don't even really use but a fraction of it because we just don't have the support to understand how it fits our use case, right? And so when we could actually leverage that in the best way, and when you find that hack, you go, what? I could have been doing that this whole time. Well, I think that's what we aim to do. We aim to help you make more and better use of your time. So, and time is the most valuable asset that we have. And you guys are here spending your time with us, and we value that so much. So, on that note, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
we can make sure a wealthy family comes from us.
Yep. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We are going to show you how to get those free resources. And until then, stay tuned.
Stay connected.
Stay focused.
Stay protected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you
get self-directed.
Hear those free resources, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Good evening.
Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.